Man, something just unfolded in the NASCAR world that genuinely made me pause and think. Hold on, are we all viewing this situation completely wrong? If you've been keeping up with the sport recently, you're well aware of all the buzz, the heated debates, the sharp criticism, and the growing questions about whether certain drivers truly deserve to be competing at this level. For quite some time, every time this topic surfaced, it only seemed to intensify the controversy. But then, in one unexpected instant, everything came to a brief halt. It wasn't because of a victory, it wasn't due to a massive crash, it was because of something far more revealing. Suddenly, the entire garage, the fans, the seasoned veterans, everyone started seeing this in a slightly different light. I'm telling you, this is one of those moments that might not appear monumental on the surface, but it could carry far greater significance than most people realize right now. So stay with me here. And real quick, if you're a dedicated NASCAR fan like I am, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're just getting NASCAR Nation Report started, pushing toward that first 10,000 subscribers, and it truly means everything to have genuine fans along for the ride. Alright, let's dive into exactly what took place. We're talking about Cleetus McFarland, the popular YouTuber who has been tossed directly into the intense world of stock car racing and hasn't had an easy path so far. This particular event occurred during an extensive test session at Rockingham Speedway while working with Richard Childress Racing. This wasn't some laid-back practice lap. We're talking nearly 10 straight hours behind the wheel. That is physically draining, mentally exhausting, and precisely the type of demanding environment where errors typically surface. For a moment, it seemed like another mistake was about to happen. Deep into a long run on completely worn-out tires with almost no grip remaining, the car suddenly broke loose right in the middle of the corner. That's the exact kind of situation where inexperienced drivers usually lose control. That's where the car spins out, slams the wall, and the loud criticism grows even louder. But this time, he saved it perfectly. Quick hands, zero panic, no overcorrection, just pure control. He caught the car, kept it away from the wall, and continued on as if nothing had occurred. And sure, in isolation, it's simply a clean save. But given the full context, it carries real weight, because we can't ignore how we arrived at this point. Cleetus McFarland didn't make his way into NASCAR quietly. His leap from YouTube content creation straight into actual competition, first in the ARCA Menard series and then stepping up into the Truck series, has become one of the most talked about and debated storylines in the entire garage. Everyone witnessed the early difficulties. There was the crash during testing. Then came the incident at Daytona during his truck debut. That's when the veterans began voicing their opinions publicly. Denny Hamlin openly questioned whether he truly had control of the car. Brad Keselowski criticized the approval process that got him there. Kyle Busch directly highlighted the experience gap. And when drivers of that caliber speak out, the racing world pays close attention. So even after he signed a limited schedule deal with Richard Childress Racing, the overall narrative refused to shift. The central question remained unchanged. Is he genuinely ready for this level of competition? And that's exactly why this moment at Rockingham carries more importance than it might first appear. Because for the first time in a genuinely high-pressure situation, he demonstrated something that simply cannot be manufactured in NASCAR: real car control when the pressure is on. Not in clean air, not on fresh tires, not during a perfect lap. This was on worn tires after long-run fatigue had set in on a challenging track. These are the exact conditions where rookies usually get exposed, and he was. Now, did this single moment silence all the critics? Absolutely not. The second the clip spread across the internet, reactions split right down the middle. Some fans immediately called it genuine progress, especially when compared to his earlier crash at the very same track. Others remained unconvinced, arguing that one impressive save doesn't wipe away a short racing resume packed with previous mistakes. And inside the garage, the atmosphere feels very similar. There's no sudden hype. There's no blanket approval. It's more of a collective pause, like people are acknowledging that maybe there's something real developing here, but they need to see a lot more before they fully commit. And that leads us directly into what's coming next. This is where the real pressure begins to build. On April 4th at Rockingham Speedway once again. But this time, it's not just another test session. It's his official debut in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Now every eye in the sport is focused on him, because in NASCAR, potential might get you noticed, but only consistency earns true respect. So this moment didn't transform everything overnight, but it definitely shifted something important. It forced people to stop, take another look, and perhaps begin reconsidering where this entire story might be heading. And as a fan, that's exactly what makes the current situation so compelling. We could be witnessing the exact point where the narrative begins to change, or the point where reality comes crashing back down. We're about to find out. So tell me, what do you think? Was that impressive save enough to demonstrate real progress, or is it still way too early to start believing in this journey? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments section below. I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. My own take is pretty straightforward. What Cleetus McFarland accomplished at Rockingham does not suddenly prove that he belongs at the highest levels of NASCAR. One save alone isn't enough to erase all the earlier mistakes, the crashes, or the clear lack of experience we've already witnessed. But at the same time, you simply cannot dismiss it either. Because that level of car control in those exact conditions, after so many hours in the car on completely worn tires, that isn't luck. That's instinct beginning to develop. That's a driver growing more comfortable right at the edge of control. And that's precisely what makes this moment so intriguing right now. I still believe the criticism coming from veterans like Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Busch is completely fair. NASCAR is not a series where you can learn everything from the ground up on the fly. The competition level is too high, and the risks are very real. But I also believe this represents the first clear evidence of actual progress instead of just raw potential. For me, this shifts the conversation away from "he doesn't belong here" to something more like, "alright, let's see if he can consistently back this up." Because now the expectations have changed. It's no longer about the initial hype, it's about delivering consistency when it counts. If he shows up for that Xfinity Series race and keeps the car clean, runs solid laps, and avoids trouble, then people will begin taking him seriously. If not, then this moment at Rockingham will eventually be remembered as nothing more than a brief flash in the pan. So yes, this didn't prove everything, but it proved just enough to make April 4th feel significantly more important than it did before. And if you enjoy this kind of real, straightforward NASCAR discussion, no sugarcoating, just genuine fans breaking down the racing, then make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report. We're building this channel from nothing, working toward those first 10,000 subscribers, and having actual passionate NASCAR fans as part of this community makes all the difference. All eyes are now locked on April 4th, because that's when it all starts counting for real. No more test sessions, no more hypothetical scenarios, no more giving the benefit of the doubt. This is the moment when Cleetus McFarland has to go out there and show that what we saw in that test wasn't just a one-time reaction but the start of something genuine and lasting. And as fans, this is exactly why we keep watching, to see whether a driver can rise to the occasion when the pressure is at its highest. To see if the story changes for the better, or if it remains exactly the same. We're all about to find out together.